Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Dana Saylor, and this is my series on healing and creativity, and sometimes a little bit of travel thrown in there because it's part of what I do. I am an artist, a historian, and a global retreat leader. I lead wellness and creativity retreats, mostly in Italy, but in other places too. And today I want to talk about what we deserve and why it's okay to advocate for it. So when I'm talking about what we deserve, I'm talking to largely my audience of women. And sometimes this applies to men as well. So it's probably for you as well if you're listening. So I want to start off by talking about worthiness versus self-esteem. And for those of you who are Gen X like myself, you might have heard a lot about self-esteem when you were a kid growing up. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I think that the message of a Mr. Rogers generation is that, you know, we're all special, we're unique, we're individuals, and we each have dignity and purpose and meaning in this world, right? I think that was the beauty of his message, was that, you know, all of us deserve those things, have those things intrinsically. And I think that what we may miss a little bit when it comes to this idea is that self-esteem is something that like you develop, but worthiness is something you have. Worthiness is the fact of your birth, means that you're a human being who has dignity, purpose, and meaning no matter what. That you have those things intrinsically. You don't have to, you'll learn them. They just exist within you. You, by nature of being a person in this world, are worthy and deserving and are lovable and all of these things, right? And it's funny because in conversations with my 6-year-old, I've been talking a lot with her about these ideas and thinking about the ways that I learned them, which was a lot through, you know, TV shows and things. It wasn't so much through individuals telling me things. It was mostly what I absorbed from the world and the media around me. And I'm sure probably for many of you, that's the case as well. Maybe you had a parent who, you know, my mom is a very loving person and very gentle and kind and told me she loved me. But the idea of like that I am worthy just by existing is something that I've still been digesting, even as I'm 46, you know, and I think that we can confuse people who are seem very confident, seem extroverted like myself, and think that they are just automatically have this sense of worthiness, have this sense of self-worth and dignity and meaning and purpose and all of these things. I would say that I have some of those things, but just because I'm an extroverted person who doesn't mind talking to a camera does not necessarily mean that I have a really strong sense of worthiness. Isn't that interesting? Because a lot of times people who perform or people who go up on stage or people who can talk in front of an audience, they may struggle with their sense of worthiness. Sometimes people who like to perform and do things for an audience might actually have a difficult struggle with their sense of worthiness. And that's why they like to do this, because it's kind of a performance or a mask almost. I would say that at this point, for myself, I have really begun to embrace my sense of worthiness and really started to understand it. And a lot of that comes with just maturity, just aging and valuing myself differently, and especially seeing myself as a parent and recognizing how important I am in the life of this small person has really boosted my confidence a lot and made me see how much I'm capable of. But worthiness does not necessarily come from like what you do. It's more from a sense of deep self-knowledge and who you are. So that's an important point to remember. So how do you get there though, right? Even many, and you'll see in my email that I sent about this, like I get on a little bit of a soapbox because I'm very frustrated seeing so many talented, smart, and capable women who shrink themselves down, make themselves small, can't find their voice, are embarrassed to ask for what they need, don't believe in themselves, talk down about themselves, etc. I see this a lot in the workshops and retreats that I lead, and it's really shocking to me sometimes, because sometimes these women are like several decades older than me, and I'm just looking at them like, you're incredible. Like, why don't you see that about yourself? I mean, maybe they do recognize that they're all these things, but yet they're still feels like at the core, there is this lack of confidence. That's really surprising to me as an outsider looking at them, but I can understand that you may seem to be so many things on the surface, but you may still struggle because of all the messages we've all gotten over the years, whether from, society, media, people in our environment, relationships. I ate a hair, excuse me. So, okay, how do we build this muscle then of a sense of worthiness, of being there for ourselves, right? How do we build this muscle of being there for ourselves? By doing it, right? So a lot of the videos that I have posted before, if you take a look at those, how to start and, flow state, not just for artists, a couple of those different videos, I talk a lot about this idea of what it takes to build a self-care routine when you don't want to, when you don't know how, when you don't have enough time, when you're having trouble with consistency, all of these things, customizing it, making it easy for yourself, being okay with imperfection, etc., are some big tips that I would say. Go back and check those videos out because I talk a little bit more about that. But, when you may not even realize that this is a problem for you. So if what I'm saying now is like, oh, actually, that's kind of me. That's kind of what I'm doing or how I've been feeling for a long time. Okay, where do we begin? We begin by doing the practices that work best for you. So there's a mix of things. It could be yoga, it could be gardening, it could be running, it could be bicycling, it could be journaling. And there's a bunch of different styles and types of journaling that are out there. I'd be happy to share some of those with you. That's what I do on my retreats, is give people different samples of different styles of journaling, different types of breath work, different types of meditation. Things work differently for different people. And so, why do I say this is going to build your sense of worthiness or your a sense of self-knowing, building that muscle of belief in yourself and knowing that you're worth it. Because when you do those things, you are investing in yourself and you're not investing in anybody else. Well, by extension you are, because when you do these things and you take good care of yourself, you're taking care of the people around you, right? But I don't want you to do it for that reason. You're proving to yourself that you care. You're proving to yourself that you're worthy. You're doing things that show yourself that you deserve this by nature of being a person. Like you're worthy and lovable and all these things and have dignity and purpose and meaning because you're a person. And so when you take care of yourself and you do activities of self-care, and it can be really simple things. It could be just like committing to brushing your teeth at the beginning and end of the night if that's always been a struggle for you. It could be reading something that gives you a great deal of pleasure. It could be doing, like I love doing crossword puzzles at the end of the night. That's actually how I turn my brain off. I know, I'm weird. But, whatever the actions are that bring you a sense of satisfaction, peace, self-knowledge, comfort, taking a bath, right? Like it is kind of cheesy as a self-care ritual, but it's like, if it brings you pleasure and you don't usually allow yourself the pleasure of it, then doing it is a way of showing yourself that you love yourself and that you're building that muscle of taking care of yourself. And so it can be anything from literal physical self-care, like toothbrushing, bathing, any of those things. It can be exercise, it can be yoga, it can be meditation, it can be journaling, it can be doing pleasurable activities that you really love. Those are ways that you are there for yourself. You're there for you. And it's important because if you're there for you, then you can be stronger, and then you can also start to feel this sense of certainty that someone is there for you for sure all the time, and that's you, right? And that if you are there and being your own best advocate, that you start to believe it, because we have these different parts within ourselves and parts of them have to talk to each other kind of. So that's a super important aspect of it. And the last thing I want to say about this is that, and I'm going to direct this especially to my female audience members who really struggle with taking up space, with confidence, with being out there, and just in terms of like, if you're the kind of person who will apologize for everything, nonstop. I'm so sorry. Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean to. Oh my goodness. I'm so, if you're that kind of person, this message is especially for you, but it's also for those of us who might feel like we're confident, but actually have some worthiness struggles within, like I have always had. I just really want to assign you the task of going out there and not apologizing. Try not apologizing for an entire day. Okay, if you make a mistake or actually step on someone's toe or, hurt someone's feelings unintentionally, okay, you can apologize for that. But I'm talking about apologizing when there's no reason to. And I want you to not do that. I want you to practice not apologizing. I want those of us who are a little bit maybe have worked on that already or who don't have that as an issue, I want us to work on true expression of ourselves. Self-assurance needs no apology. Do men apologize? Right? I mean, how often do you hear a man going around and shrinking himself down and, oh, I'm not so great, and minimizing themselves and also not advocating for their needs. Men always are advocating for their needs. Actually, they're not even advocating. They're just claiming what they want and deserve. They're taking time off. They're going golfing. They're working in their wood shop. They're, they're doing the things that they want to do. They're playing a video game. They're watching a movie. They're, talking to their friends. They're, whatever it is. Men are so much better at this. And I recognize the reasons why. I am not blind to the social conditioning that we have and the fact that women often are the ones who are doing the primary role of parenting and that's a lot of work for us, that falls to us primarily. So I'm not ignoring that fact. What I'm saying is that we have to get as good at advocating for ourselves as men are. And that takes practice. That takes effort, and it takes intentional sort of goal setting and saying, I'm going to go out there and do a thing that I want to do because I want to. And I'm going to do it. And we're going to make it work. We're going to figure it out. We're going to find the time. We're going to make it happen somehow, and really being firm about that. And if you're single and don't have children, well, then it's even easier for you. But if there are people in your life who rely on you and you need to make arrangements whenever there's going to be, you're going to be absent, it's important to recognize that you have the right and the duty and obligation to yourself to do that in a way of taking care of yourself. And you just say, I am building the muscle of being there for myself. And that self-assurance doesn't need an apology. So anytime you're not sure about that, I would just remind you to look at the men around you and to, in some ways, use them as a model. And to say, I'm going to be as bold as that. I'm going to claim what I deserve. And then, yes, the wonderful benefit of that is that you're happier, you're more present, you're more at peace, you're more satisfied, you have greater self-awareness and self-knowledge, and by extension, everyone around you will benefit. But do it for you, not for them. See you soon.